Hello and welcome to this Karen Reed update of day one in court. And day one started out with, as most cases do, the opening statements. Opening statements from the state was primarily there was a lot of snow. There was snow, very much snow, a blizzard, and some snow, and some more snow. That's roughly what DA Lally was talking about. He didn't get to mention John O'Keefe and what happened until 8 minutes into his opening statements. And the rest of it was about Aruba, about, oh, they had so many people who would testify to this and to that, but nothing really factual. It seems like he just wanted to say, we have so many people who's going to testify, not what they're going to testify about. And when he mentioned what they were going to testify about, it was according to what we know now. Again, one of those Lallyisms where he might kind of lie about what really was said. Um, Roughly 5 minutes out of his 45 minutes was to talk about what did happen that night. The rest was the trip to Aruba, that everyone was knowing that they had a rough relationship, and and then they talked a little bit about she had a small fling with Higgins, and that Proctor was the lead investigator. And again, an opening statement that kind of did what we see in a lot of cases. They stack up and say, we have so much evidence. The relevant evidence might be this much, but they are going to show you so much evidence that the jury will feel, oh, they presented so much, they must have a case. We see that this in a lot of cases when they don't really have hard evidence. They just have people testifying about stuff that has no relevance. Keep that in mind till later, because then we came to the defense opening statements. And let's just say from the beginning, that was fire. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch Yanetti's opening statements. Right off the bat, with someone else did it. And then, in my opinion, a bomb dropped. They have evidence that Proctor went through Karen Reed's phone. Not only did he go through Karen Reed's phone without a search warrant, he also texted his personal friends about this case on the day where John was found. According to Janetti, there will be text about how he hoped she would kill herself, that he was looking through her phone to find nudes of her. And again, according to Janetti, a text stating Alberts won't get in trouble, they are Boston PD. He did a way better job of pointing the finger of all the bad investigating going on in this case. He pointed out Albert never came out of the residence. He pointed out that they didn't find any evidence until later, and then they kept finding evidence in 3 weeks. Every time someone drove past that lawn, they found tail light fractures all over it. Um, he talked a lot about Jen McCabe's 227 Google search, "How's long to die in the cold." He talked about Lucky, that he passed the residence twice. Well, once passed it, and the other one he drove by a T section and could see a Ford Edge parked outside the house. He reminded us of the bot dials we know happened. They will bring in a dog bite expert, and a very strong opening in my mind. According to Lally's, it was leagues better. But again, that's just opening statements. A very good story. If the jury they are allowed to take notes in this case, they would have taken some very interesting notes if they wrote down that the lead investigator was looking through a defendant's phones for her nudes. But then on to the state witness. The first witness called in this case was the brother of John O'Keefe, Paul O'Keefe. I wrote down what his testimony was about, and I wrote feelings, weather, Aruba, arguments, blowing Karen a kiss. That's what I wrote down about his testimony, which lasted a couple of hours. He talked about how he met his wife, how his kids had a basketball tournament, how he had observed that John and Karen argued, but not in any other way than normal couples did. He knew something from the Aruba trip, but he wasn't there when it happened, so he couldn't really testify about any of that. And then he saw her being restrained at the hospital, and he blew her a kiss, which was a weird thing to say, um, and that she was screaming at the hospital. Yeah, but not screaming bad stuff. She was screaming that is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? So she was very distraught at the hospital. I think he actually was a good defense witness. I don't know why they brought her on. Then we watched a lot of videos, and again, another thing I don't understand. Lally, he showed us videos from the driveway outside of John's house because Karen arrived at house, was there for 30 minutes, went away with a small bag of her personal belongings, which supposedly is a big thing in this case. But what he didn't mention was Paul O'Keefe parked. If you had Karen's car here, his car was here, and he had to walk past it to get into the house. He would have noticed a cracked tail light because remember, the state claims about a piece this big is missing from her tail light. That would have been noticed if he had walked past it multiple times. He didn't. So I don't understand why they brought him up. Then they had Erin O'Keefe, the wife of Paul, ask her all the same questions. The only new thing here was on the 28th, Karen had reached out to her while she was out putting the kids on the school bus and talked about she wanted to talk because Paul had yelled at her over her giving his daughter iced coffee. So everything again is Paul was angry. Paul was mad at her. Paul wasn't treating her right. There's no one other than the trip to Aruba where he may have hugged a girl or may have kissed a girl. They got into an argument. Then she waited 29 days to kill him, which, in my opinion, doesn't make any sense. Then we had Stephen Saraf, the first arriving officer at the scene. Remember, if you watched the hearings, Lally have talked a lot about this was the worst snowstorm ever, and it was so bad. We saw him driving to the residence in the snow. Yes, there was snow on the road. Yes, it was snowing, but it wasn't a whiteout. You could clearly see what was going on. He drove at 35 miles per hour while driving to the scene. That's not the worst snowstorm you've ever been in. We were also told during one of the hearings that it was such a bad weather he couldn't see the women when he arrived at the scene. Again, on the video, you can clearly see Karen Roberts, Kelly Robert. I never remember her name. You saw the Roberts woman's car standing on the side of the road and people next to it. He said there was a light dusting of snow on John. According to Lally, that was 6 inches. So again, a Lallyism, Lally lied. It's another small thing you might want to notice was he said the body was 20 feet away from the road. How did it get there? That's another question. And to sum it all off, a very bad day for the defense, especially because they brought in the 24.2 miles per hour hit again. They had went away from that theory. They brought it up again. Their entire case for the first 6 hours was the weather was really, really bad. And that's it. That was what we talked about. No direct link to anything that happened to John. Nothing. So their opening statement was to bore the jury for 4 hours yesterday and talking about the worst snowstorm ever. And when you watch the videos, you could see, yeah, that was about, I don't know, 5, 7 inches on the ground. If that's the worst snowstorm Massachusetts ever had, I feel sorry for people in Canada. But we're going to continue on today, and hopefully you will follow along and watch along with us. It's going to be interesting because today we will start with the cross examination of the first arriving officer. See you at 9 o'clock.